Welcome to Quality Branding Hub. The channel is for the quality control engineer, site engineer, and the civil engineer who are working in the construction field. In this channel, we are dealing with anything and everything which is required to get success in the construction. Now, what is success? Success as well as the project success, same time the engineer success, because we are working for our success also. So, how to get success in the career, that we are also discussing here in this channel. So, what is today's topics? Today's topics is about the two method of the density or the optimum moisture and dry density check or the field density check, that is the sand replacement and the co-cutter. So what is the difference, where it can be used, and what is the relevant IS code, and what is the detailed comparison in between these two? Today's video I'll discuss each and everything, so stay tuned until then to get the full information. And if you are new in my channel, kindly subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get immediate notification. Now, there are not only two methods, another method is also there to find out the field density. Why you are making field density? Because we need to check how much percentage compaction has been done. According to the requirement, maybe more than 95 or more than 98, that we have to achieve. Otherwise, structural stability will be a problem. So that is why this co-cutter and the sand replacement method is very important and widely used this to in the civil engineering field. But what is the different and where we can we use? So first things first, let me zoom it more so that you can find out easily. So first things first is relevant IS code. First you need to know. So the relevant IS code is IS 2720 part 28 for the sand replacement and IS 2720 part 29 for the core cutter method. Because whenever we are working in India, we have to know what is our IS code, and according to the IS code we have to work. So IS code क्या है? 2720 part 28 and 2720 part 29. दिस इज द रेलिवेंट आईएस कोड. अभी हम देखेंगे एरिया ऑफ यूज क्या है, क्योंकि बोथ है, हर जगह में यूज कर सकता है या कोई जगह में यूज नहीं कर सकता है. तो उसके लिए हम क्या देखते हैं? कोड कटर. कोड कटर कहाँ यूज कर सकता है? सी हियर इट इज इन द स्कोप, इट इज गिवन इन द आईएस कोड इटसेल्फ. So let me zoom it out. This standard covers the method for the determination of the in place density of fine grained natural or compacted soil free from aggregates using a core cutter. So here it is clearly mentioned where we can use, where you can get that one. IS 2720 part 29 clause 1, where it is scope. It's clearly mentioned this fine dense place density of a fine grained natural or compacted soil free from aggregates using a core cutter. So if aggregate is there, the core cutter method is become difficult. For the purpose of the test described in the standard, a soil shall be termed as fine grained soil if not less than 90% of it passes 4.75 mm IC. So it also have the classification. If it is passing 90%, more than 90% from the IC 4.75, this can be used by method of core cutter. Other area, let me come to the sand replacement. Again, here it is also in the scope, it is defined for the purpose of the tools described in the standard, soil shall be grouped as shown below, where you can find out again in the scope of the work in the IS 2720 part 28 for the sand replacement. Here it is a fine grained soil, soil containing not less than 90% passing a 2 mm IC, medium grained soil containing not less than 90 mm percent passing a 20 mm sieves, and coarse grained soil containing not less than 90% of body 40 mm sieve. Okay, so here you can say from that what is mentioned in the IS code, it is clear where we can use the core cutter, where we can use the sand replacement. So it's a fine grain compacted soil free from aggregate, and the other area sand replacement. So just read the code, you will find out where these two are using. So now we have already find out area of use. Now the what is the key principle that we need to know? So principle of sand replacement method, the volume of excavated soil is determined by filling the hole with uniformly graded sand. The density is then calculated using weight of excavated soil at the volume of the hole. So what here it is simple. You are making the core, and you have filled with the sand, and you are taking the sand volume and as well as the sand weight, and according to that you are just comparing with the sand. So this is the sand you are replacing the area with the sand which is already calibrated. It's not like that that you can use any type of sand. So you already calibrated sand, that means you know its properties. So you making the core, and again you have to fill with the sand, and after getting this sand weighted, you just comparing with these two, and you can find out how much percentage of the compaction has been done. And what is the principle of the co-cutter method? A density is obtained from the weight of soil collected inside cutter known volume of cutter. So here it is, we know the volume and we are inserting into the core, and we're taking that sample and we have tested that one, and what is the weight of that volume and what is the moisture of that volume. So according to we have to compare with the maximum moisture content, that is optimum moisture content, and accordingly we can find out what is the degree of compaction. So these are the two different in principle. One is obtaining correct is the cutter worm sample, another is replacing the sand and comparing with the sand, and another is we are taking the sample and comparing with the optimum moisture content. So these are the key principle of the एरिया ऑफ यूज ऑलरेडी आई शोन यू इन द कोड, हमने उसमें दिखाया जिस कोड में क्या क्या लिखा है. बट अगेन सैंड रिप्लेसमेंट मेथड आपको कहाँ कहाँ यूज होगा? हाईवे एम्बंकमेंट, ग्रैनुलर सरफेस और द जीएसबी, डब्ल्यूएम लेयर, रेलवे एम्बंकमेंट, आर्ट डैम्स, ग्रैनुलर फील्ड कॉम्पैक्शन चेकिंग, ऑल दैट एरिया वी कैन यूज sand replacement. आप इधर देख सकते हो, the GSB, WM all have the aggregate. Now in the core cutter, clay soil compaction, fine grained soil, backfill trenches, canal embankment, small earthwork project. So here you can say these are all the soil containing grain soil, not any aggregate. So again in the code it's given that there should be no aggregate for the core cutter. So these are the area of use for the core cutter and the sand replacement. Now, next part is what is the limitation? Yes, we have some limitation. So, limitation for sand replacement method, it's time consuming, require calibration sand, difficult in very soft soil, and wind may affect the sand flow. एक होता है साइड में कि ज्यादा विंड है तो सैंड को प्रॉपरली मेजर करना डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है. एंड व्हाट इज द लिमिटेशन ऑफ कोकाटर मेथड? It's not suitable for gravelly soil, all we know. Difficult in hard and dense soil. Cutter may deform. Stone particles disturb sample. That's why we can do go for the sand replacement. So these are the limitation for the core cutter and the sand replacement. Okay. So next part is, as we discussed already, what we discussed: area of use, relevant IS code, key principle, limitation, area of use, and the limitation. Next is the comparison, how these two are differ from each other. Let me zoom in again. Now I think it's clear. See here you can say this is 400% again after this Norton. Okay, here you can say this is the sand replacement method versus core cutter method. This is the total comparison. Now IS code 2720 part 28. Here it is IS 2720 part 29. Here you can the tray placed and hole dug. Here is the sand replacement. Then hole filled with the calibrated sand, soil and sand weighted. Here's a principle: the volume of the excavated soil is determined by the filling it with the calibrated uniform dry sand. तो फर्स्ट हम इधर होल करते हैं, डक करते हैं, इसको ले लेते हैं, उसके बाद इसको सैंड भरते हैं, उसको सैंड रिप्लेस करके सैंड का भी और सॉइल का भी वेट करते हैं. और ड्राई डेंसिटी कैसा है? ड्राई वेट ऑफ सॉइल डिवाइडेड बाय वॉल्यूम ऑफ एक्सकवेटेड होल फ्रॉम सैंड यूनिट इन केजी पर मीटर क्यूब. On the other hand, इसमें core cutter, a cylindrical core cutter is driven into soil and the soil sample inside the core cutter is weighted. See here, a cylindrical sample we are placing. First cutter placed on the soil surface, cutter driven into the soil. cutter removed with the soil, then soil and cutter wetted, and after that also we have to dry it, and we have to take the dry sample so that we can find out the moisture content also. Again, mass of dry soil in cutter and volume of the core cutter. Here you can say dry soil, that means moisture also we have to dry in the oven, and then we can go to the kg per cubic meter, what is the dry density, and what is the dry density or the maximum dry density, and with the maximum dry density we can compare and we can find out how much compaction has been done. तो इसमें देखो दो डिफरेंस है, इसमें कटर को प्लेस करना पड़ता है, इसको सैंड को रिप्लेस करना पड़ता है, तो इसीलिए इसको नाम है सैंड रिप्लेसमेंट, इसका है कोड कटर मेथड. And principle already discussed, whole volume measured using the sand and soil sample collected in a co-cutter, and remember different principle of volume measurement. And suitable soil, coarse grain soil for the sand replacement, sand, gravel, moram, granular soil, and this is a fine grain cohesive soil, sealed clay, silty clay, etc. Accuracy, higher accuracy for coarser soil and good accuracy for the cohesive soil. And the soil disturbance, moderate due to excavation and minimal disturbance. And the equipment, it's a more sand cylinder, tray, sand calibration container, etc. Here is the co-cutter, dolly, hammer. See, here is a one catch that जो भी हम material use कर रहे हैं, जो भी instrument हम लोग use कर रहे हैं, that should be calibrated. Without the calibration, it is not एक्सेप्टेबल, और उसको यूज भी नहीं करना साइड में अगर कैलिब्रेशन नहीं है, नहीं तो आपका मेजरमेंट गलत आ जाएगा. सी टाइम रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है, मोर टाइम कंज्यूमिंग इन सैंड रिप्लेसमेंट इन फास्टर एंड इजियर, बट आपके पास ड्राई करने के लिए टाइम चाहिए. बट नाउ इट इज क्या है ना, रैपिड मॉइस्चर मीटर हम लोग यूज करते हैं. On the site itself we can find out the what is the moisture content of that soil. On that basis we can get it immediately. Then unsuitable for very soft soil, I'll discuss. And the hole or excavation required. Here is also no excavation, it's not required. Aggregate size can handle larger particles and limited by core cutter diameter. And ice code already discussed. So area of use already discussed. Code cutter method already discussed. Both methods are used for in situ dry density clarification, compaction, quality control, and everything. So these are all about the comparison in between code cutter and the sand replacement. So where to use, what is the code, and is the key principle, what is the limitation. I have already discussed everything. So if you want to know anything more about quality control and construction, please let me know. I will come with more content like this, and I'm waiting for your valuable comments, so that from your valuable comment everybody would be benefited. And if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon, so that whenever I upload a new video you will get immediate notification. And thank you once again for watching me.